countdown for a special drug squad unit in the north of Peru. New illegal coca fields have been discovered and are due to be destroyed. This drug war is financed by the USA, but they haven't won it. Another man is out on the drugs front. Jochen Weise is working for the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, and is there on a peaceful mission. He is against the war on the coca farmers. He wants them to give up the coca voluntarily, and he's welcome. Landing near Tingo Maria, bang in the middle of coca land. Destroying the farmers' coca fields is a dangerous job. They often put out booby traps. Planting coca and selling it to the cartels provides a good life. The men of the special unit are dealing with a Sisyphean task. They have to rip out each coca plant individually with its root. The farmers curse the policemen. They call them traitors and mercenaries of the USA.
You should be ashamed to invade our country and make us starve. I want to speak to the boss.
Jochen Weise is the good cop. He brings the farmers oil palm, coffee or cocoa seedlings, cash incentives and technical advice. 27,000 farmers are on board. They now live off alternative products and allegedly earn $500 a month with them. It's a green miracle.
We went to all the areas where there was coca. We were successful everywhere, and always on the basis of the total trust of the population. It should be difficult to find another positive example of this scale anywhere else.
But there is something fishy about Weise's wonderland. Nearby, we find fields full of coca. Coca underneath UN palm trees. In 2013, Peru even became the world's greatest producer of cocaine, despite the much-lauded UN program. Did it fail? Or even worse, is it a cover-up for the big cocaine business?
At first, we believed the promises of the UN guys. I'd hoped that it is a good and sustainable alternative for coca and a blessing for our families. But later I realized that a group of criminals had come to us under the flag of the United Nations.
The good guy from Hanover? A criminal? He vehemently denies this and invites us on a tour. 30 years ago, he arrived in Peru as a young UN officer and found the mission of his life here. After all, thousands of farming families are now able to lead a legal life which is worthy of a human being. The money he has spent on the Alternative Development Program, some $100 million, is a good investment, he says. The first stop is the Oro Verde Association, meaning green gold. Marcelino Tapulima is a kind of flagship farmer. He has given up all his coca fields, and he now grows cocoa and coffee on 5 hectares with the help of the UN Office on Drugs and Crime. Jochen Weise is talking shop with him about a coffee fungus which has destroyed most of the crops.
We used to be always afraid of the law. The work was illegal. Thanks to the people of the United Nations who started their work here in 1999, I managed the switch to coffee so I could get away from coca.
How are you doing financially?
Well, it's more or less okay, but not good. Our income is not enough for the investments we need to make to grow economically.
After the interview, he tells us that his monthly net income is roughly $180, far below the $500 mentioned in UN documents. Among other things, the association produces organic coffee, and it has its own laboratory. Weise's concept for the farmers envisages them producing high-quality products, which are money-makers on the world market. In order to achieve this, he forced them to concentrate on growing 1 or 2 crops. Monoculture is a part of the re-education program. He's not happy with this coffee. He's also annoyed with his flagship farmer, Marcelino, who told us that he can't live off growing coffee.
On average, they have an income of some $200 per month. That's not very much. The farmers must be happy with that, or else they wouldn't be doing it. So they're always grumpy about it, yes. A bit ungrateful, actually.
On we go to the next flagship project, the Olpesa palm oil business in Tocache. Managing Director Arturo Hoyos is driving us himself. Jochen Weise brought him to the UN. Previously, he had been working for Pablo Escobar, the boss of the Colombian Medellin cartel.
You know what I told the board of directors? Mr. Weise will come and bring us new projects. Do you know why he's coming to see us? Because we were the only ones who saw him off in the manner that he deserved.
That's true. I could suggest some progressive projects. Oil palms and environmental protection. Something of that nature.
Yes, our SPO, the Green Palm Seal for Sustainable Palm Oil.
That's right, or something with reforestation.
At any rate, your message must be a positive one.
Well prepared, the two arrive in Tocache, headquarters of Olpesa. It is one of Peru's largest and most successful palm oil businesses, with 2,000 farmers. The association's leaders and the management accord Jochen Weise a huge reception. The farmers here are obviously grateful to him. 20 years ago, they used to grow coca, cook cocaine, or they were the warriors of the radical left-wing Shining Path guerrilla who plunged the country into a civil war which left 60,000 dead.
For many years, I traveled with a gun in my pocket and led very different negotiations with these people. It was a very special situation. The farmers were caught in a catch-22 situation between the military and the terrorists, and we also fell between those cracks.
Und wir haben auch zwischen allen Stühlen gelebt.
Here you had some coca. There's one plant left.
The association's president wants to make something clear.
The coca won't grow tall around here because there is too much shade from the palm trees.
The farmers who accompany us on our tour with Jochen Weise are hand-picked. But even they are not happy. Instead of coca, they're now dependent on another monoculture and suffer the low price for palm oil on the world market.
My returns are too low. I don't have money for fertilizer. Without fertilizer, I won't get to a normal level of productivity.
The farmers deliver their palm fruits to the Olpesa plant, where the raw oil is produced. A few farmers received some shares in the plant, but most of them just deliver the palm fruit and receive a lousy price. The ones who profit the most are domestic and foreign investors. They pocket dream dividends of more than 100%, or so they say, despite the low price for palm oil on the world markets. This would make Olpesa the most profitable plant in the world, which doesn't fit with the farmer's poverty. The laws of economy can't explain these miraculous profits. The managing director is trying to do that anyway.
Es bien complicado.
It's damn complicated.
Bien complicado. Poder, por un
I have to
lado,
make the small
satisfacer a
producers
pequeños
happy,
agricultores
as
y
well as the
satisfacer a
investors.
inversionistas. Porque hay inversionistas.
These include
Industrial
Alpamayo,
Alpamayo,
trading houses,
comerciantes,
Jochen.
y así, un montón de
Many
gente que
people have
invierte.
invested here.
Entonces,
If I pay the
tú
farmers
subes el
more
precio de la
for their
materia
palm
prima,
fruit,
le haces ganar
the
al
farmers are
pequeño
happy,
agricultor,
but the
pero
investors
perjudicas
suffer.
al
So I
inversionista.
see it from a pure
Y esto
business
hay que manejar como un
perspective.
negocio. Somos
We are the only
empresarios,
business in the
tenemos en
palm
línea
oil
de palma
sector
tres
with
líneas
3
de
lines of production.
Uno, lo que es la palma,
Palm oil.
que era el aceite de palma. El otro, que es
Palm
el
heart
aceite
oil.
palmiste, y el otro es la torta
And we
de
make
palmiste.
animal feed from the waste
A
products.
diferencia del resto que solo producen aceite de palma. Entonces, esta diversificación
The
de la
diversification of the production
ha permitido
is the reason
mayor
why
rentabilidad que el
we are
resto.
more profitable than
Porque
others.
los bancos, en el mejor de los casos, te
A
pagan
bank will give you a maximum
a
of
plazo fijo,
10%
si uno ve
per
un
annum
año,
for a fixed deposit.
10% al año. Entonces, si tú pones tu
Our
plata en
shareholders
banco,
received a
paga
dividend of
10%.
128% in 2014 and
El
2015.
2014 y 2015 le ha dado 128% de rentabilidad.
The oil mill as a gold mine for investors, including Jochen Weise? Did we get that right? As a UN official responsible for this enterprise, he should not be gaining personal profit from the farmer's work. He probably knows that. Is that why he covered his tracks?
Ich kriege überhaupt keine Dividende, weil
I don't receive any dividends because, well, okay, yes, a laughable amount, because my wife invested in it.
ich kriege davon
That's
überhaupt
it.
nichts ab und ich kriege davon auch überhaupt nichts mit. Das ist persönlich die
I don't get anything.
Ich weiß nur eins, aber das
I know
heißt
nothing
doch,
about
ich
this.
weiß
I
ganz
just
einfach,
know that the
dass,
returns
dass
are relatively high.
Dass die Renditen relativ hoch
That's
sind.
right.
Natürlich, dass die Dividenden relativ hoch sind, ganz genau.
When we are back on track with Arturo Hoyos, Jochen Weise chats some more about the happy marriage of office and money.
Every year they distribute a profit which is higher than the investment. Yes, it's crazy the amount of profit within that process. And not because they scam the farmers. I'll find out. Arturo, my wife Judith has $3,000 worth of shares. That is, I have them. What kind of dividend did they roughly yield in the last few years?
In 2014, that was at least 15,000 soles.
15,000 per year?
15,000 soles. That was $5,000. So you basically got your investment back within 1 year. That's one of the things I regret so much, that I didn't invest $100,000. I could be pretty rich by now.
He was allowed to buy shares as a UN representative.
Me parece que
I
no.
don't think so.
Me parece que
But
no.
you can do it with a trick, like
Pero,
he did.
podría haber
Why
buscado
not?
mecanismos, tal como lo ha hecho. Puedo, mejor todavía, ¿no?
It's a good thing to
Invertir
invest
sobre
into
algo
something
que
you
yo
created
mismo lo he
yourself.
creado, yo mismo lo he formado, ¿no? Y
You've
creo que
earned it.
merezco, pues,
And there is the
participar,
risk,
pero
too.
contra todo riesgo, además.
Nobody knew it was going to
Nadie
be
se
such a
imaginaba que
success.
esto iba a ser exitoso.
It could appear questionable for you to mix interests. Because on the one hand, you are a co-owner or shareholder, and on the other hand, you have a strong decision-making power in terms of which project gets supported.
Sure, but in this case, you have to understand that with an initial volume of some $2 million, which is what the plant cost, my wife's participation of $3,000, which was the exact amount, doesn't have any significance.
6,000.
Well, all right, 6,000. But that doesn't have any significance, and there was no exertion of influence.
During the visit in Tocache, Arturo Hoyos invites Jochen Weise to take part in a new private plantation business. It will supply Olpesa with palm fruit in competition with the farmers. Jochen Weise makes a quick decision and orders shares for $20,000. The tour continues. 200 kilometers to the south, in Aguaitia, there is another large palm oil business which was also founded by the UN. Its name, Olpasa. But Jochen Weise doesn't come along. There are peasant leaders who don't like him, and vice versa. They denigrated him. Victor Barral is the former president of the UN Farmers Association of Aguaitia.
Unfortunately, we realized after some time that the UN worked for their own personal gain, at our expense. You have to understand that I am just a small farmer and they went over my head. These people have economic power and they use their connections.
Back then, Victor Barral fell from grace. Lost his position as the associate's chairman, didn't get any more loans. Today he is so poor that he cannot even afford a moped. He has to walk the 5 kilometers to his palm plantation and still make serious allegations against the UN team.
They had the plan to infiltrate and implant themselves in the governing body of our association. For that, they corrupted a number of farmers.
Oh.
With the help of loans, subsidies and beer, they took advantage of the fact that the farmers have very little education. In the end, they took all the decisions themselves and appointed the board of directors and managing directors as well.
Jochen Weise used a simple method to bring the business, which was founded for the farmers, under his control. He enforced the rule that the 3 farmers' representatives on the board of directors are always appointed by him. This way he controlled 3 of 5 board members. The farmers were presented with a fait accompli by Jochen Weise's assistant, Celso Diaz.
He informed us that they would transfer the business to us, but that they would determine who'd sit on the board of directors. All 16 farmers' delegates who were present said, no, that's not possible. It's our business. Celso Diaz took a drag in his cigarette and said, no, gentlemen, we as the United Nations will determine your 3 board members. If you're not happy with that, listen up, people, just forget about it. We'll give this plant to a different association, not you.
So the Farmers Association holds the majority of shares in the plant. But all decisions are taken by Jochen Weise's representatives, whom he has placed on the board of directors and in the management. This may have led to cases of fraud.
Once I asked the supervisor to show me the cargo log. How many tanker trucks had left the property with which amount of oil? He said, Victor, we only registered the arriving lorries, not the departing ones. There has never been any control of how much oil is actually shipped from the plant.
Victor Barral has evidence of organized crime. The protocol of a board meeting of the Olansa palm oil plant has it in cold print. 10% of the oil is regularly sold on the black market. The farmers' representatives wanted to bring in the state attorney, but board member Enrique Eslava, appointed by Jochen Weise, vetoed the decision. An investigation would only damage the business's image, said the UN representative.
Back then, we tried to understand how this is working. It's not that easy.
Stealing the oil.
Yeah, exactly. That was an interesting thing. I can't remember how it worked. We understood it at the time.
Why didn't you report it?
It had already been dealt with internally.
But it's a crime.
The business was completely independent of us.
You appointed the board of directors.
Yes, as far as I know, a stop was put to all of that, and the people in question were removed from the business, or reported. I have no idea. For me, that was the end of the matter.
No one was reported because your member of board prevented that.
Well, I don't know that he did that. I can't say now.
A network of board members and managing directors takes over the business. To the farmers, it seems like Jochen Weise was pulling strings and distributing sinecures like a king. In 2007, the UN project leader buys the property on which the oil mill is situated on behalf of the Farmers Association. 6 hectares for the plant and 60 hectares of adjoining land for palms. Land belonging to the association now, or so the farmers believe. But they are wrong.
I went to the land registry and was flabbergasted when I saw the file. The land we had bought for our plant didn't belong to us at all. It belonged to a corporation by the name of De Palma Sac.
Who owns that?
50% of it are owned by Mr. Alfredo Rivera Luarte.
The managing director.
Well, he was the UN's project leader here at the time. The other 50% belong to one Leonardo Pichetsky Olachea.
And who is that?
I don't know him. I've never seen him. But who knows? He may have been here before.
A frontman.
Seems that way. Back then I didn't think of that. We were in shock, but today we know more.
Who's frontman?
He can't be a frontman of Alfredo Rivera, only of his boss, Jochen Weise.
The United Nations never had a personal interest, nor any of the technicians, in keeping some part of the business. Everything was transferred to the people, 100% of it, many years ago. This means no United Nations staff member owns a part of the plant or anything else.
No land either?
Some technicians own some land, that's right.
You too?
I have some small pieces of land relatively close by, that's right.
Jochen Weise owns land connected with other UN projects too. He runs his own palm oil plantations and is a shareholder. It is logical to assume that he used his power as a UN representative and the nearly $100 million which he had to distribute to win financial gain for himself and his helpers. Didn't they notice anything in the UNODC headquarters in Vienna? We inquire, but so far we haven't been given an answer. Weise's permanent managing director, Arturo Hoyos, is a key figure in the UN's Peru network. In his spare time, Hoyos likes to play the guitar, and he knows about chemistry too.
You know, there is a new method now. You can obtain the pure cocaine directly from the plant.
Unbelievable. That would have been great in your day.
You could make good cocaine with that, right, Jochen? We used to have to make the paste and wash it. Say, are you hungry? Do you want to eat something?
The good old Coke days are not over yet. Apparently, the trade with the white gold continues under the roof of the UN. In 2009, Arturo Hoyos' brother-in-law is arrested for transporting sulfuric acid for cocaine production. in a UN vehicle. Also, the chairman of the board of the UN business is caught with 14 kilograms of cocaine and is sentenced to 7 years in prison. The cocaine dealers went about their business in Arturo Hoyo's periphery, but Jochen Weise retains his managing director.
He was in a special emergency situation when he slipped into this business, which wasn't as risky as it is today. And 2 years later, he slipped out of it again. He needed the help of his university friends and so on. And back then, it wasn't a problem to come to us and get rehabilitated, so to speak.
What is the tree nursery of the palm oil business today was a runway back then. In the 1990s, raw cocaine was flown to Colombia from here. The recipient, Pablo Escobar. Every day, there was a plane with 500 kilograms of cocaine on board. That's what the farmers tell us on our tour. The boss of this cocaine haulier was the very man who is now again their boss. Your people told me that you used to organize flights to Colombia with raw cocaine.
No, I was more or less, I was just the bookkeeper.
You could think that the entire UN program called Alternative Development is, how can I put this? An option for the people from the drug trade to...
To exploit that.
That's right, to launder their money.
Yeah, sure, that's possible. That happened. I was involved in many UN projects, together with Jochen. For a long time, I was involved. We always made sure we picked the right people, growing coca at the time, who were suitable for making the change.
The change? Does that even happen? This man is doubtful about that. Pablo Ramirez Mori works in the regional directorate of the Ministry of Agriculture and knows the UN businesses well. He has occasionally visited them as an agricultural advisor. Shortly after our start in Tingo Maria, we discovered the first light green plantings in the forest. They are all coca fields, everywhere around the UN plantations. Down in the valley, the farmers grow oil palms. Further up, away from the main roads, they grow coca. They can't live off the oil alone. The authorities tend to leave the coca farmers alone. Too many people in Peru profit from the narco-economy. Even further down, bang in the middle of the UN plantations, we find coca fields too. Coca underneath UN palm trees. There is even a mash tub where they produce raw cocaine. Apparently, the UN program Alternative Development serves as a cover-up.
It's not a true alternative, according to the motto of out of the coca, into the palm oil. The reality is different. On most of my inspection visits, I saw coca growing underneath the oil palms. Coca also grows in cacao plantations.
But the coca plant needs sun.
There is lots of light for the coca until the palms are tall. Then the new fields are planted somewhere else.
The UN officials would know this.
Yes,
Do they tolerate it?
they have to know. Yes, they know.
It's an open secret in Peru that at least some of the UN projects serve to launder the profits from the trade with the white drug. A plant producing palm oil can't generate a profit of 128%.
I'm not the manager, and I haven't come up with these figures.
The money could stem from the illegal drug trade and is laundered here.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Why are you so sure?
I'm totally sure.
Lima, the capital of Peru, is the headquarters of the regional office of the UNODC, or Office on Drug and Crime Fighting. In 2012, Jochen Weise, in his own words, got into trouble with his boss Flavio Mirella. He allegedly accused him of corruption. We asked Mirella for an interview. He agrees, but cancels shortly before the appointment, saying he wasn't the right person for legal matters. We inquire in writing with the UNODC headquarters in Vienna, whether none of Weise's superiors suspected that businesses like Olpesa were money laundering facilities for drug trafficking profits. Our question remains unanswered to this day. In 2013, Jochen Weise was deposed as the leader of the Alternative Development Project. However, this didn't change much. His network continues the work. Most of the companies which were set up with the UN millions are privatized by now. The small farmers consider themselves the losers. Dolores Noriega runs a small palm oil plantation and is the leader of a small farmers association in the Ucayali region. Mr. Weise is in her bad books. She suspects that the businesses which were financed by the UN have by now all fallen into the hands of the so-called UN mafia, with the help of frontmen and share transfers. The next milestone of this circle of friends would be an oil refinery to produce biodiesel for the world market. 3 palm oil plants founded by the UN are involved in the project. On top of that, in Dolmasa, the little oil mill which, according to insider information, is the nucleus of the planned large oil refinery. A mysterious major investor holds more than 40% of the shares. People in the business call him Tio, meaning uncle. Who is behind this? Dolores Noriega has come to Pucallpa to do some research. In the land registry, she comes across the business's file. Who, on the board of directors, is the representative for the uncle? Maybe there is some sort of connection with Jochen Weise? Tio's name doesn't appear anywhere, but on the board of directors, he is represented by several people from Jochen Weise's inner circle. One of them is Maria Esther del Campo, who was the managing director of UN oil mill Olpasa up until recently, and Weise's solicitor, Gino Renato Gersi.
Here it is. The board of directors has decided the company is the founding shareholder in the constitution of a closed joint stock company whose aim it is to produce and market biodiesel. So now they have their own business in Dolmasa, which will own 25% of the refinery's shares. So that was the goal of all these moves. The United Nations can be proud of the fact that their officials have made themselves millionaires.
Das ist ja vollkommener Unsinn, das machen.
That's complete nonsense. That's not happening.
Bei diesen Mengen überhaupt
There's no point to do that.
zu tun, ja.
No private citizen would think of doing such a thing,
Weil die Rentabilität so gering
because the profitability is very low, around 1 to 2%, meaning it's a huge risk, which is not justifiable with such small amounts of palm oil.
Indeed, the oil production of the businesses founded by the UN is not enough to operate a large refinery. But a private investor is going to remove this bottleneck. In the middle of the rainforest, thousands of hectares of forest were cleared and planted with oil palms. Pablo Ramirez Mori was there when the regional government sold the land to the major investor. Allegedly, he came recommended by Jochen Weise. 12,000 hectares have already gone. 100,000 are the target. Pablo Ramirez Mori was responsible for the allocation of land titles. In 2010, the regional government instructed him to survey the rainforest for the investor. The investor had until then been in agribusiness in Asia. His name? Dennis Melker. This shooting star of the investor scene learned his trade at Credit Suisse. His motto is, besides Coca, palm oil is the most profitable plant in the world.
In the palm oil industry, look at the three parts: production, processing, FMCG. Okay? World's largest buyer of palm oil is Unilever. So you have billions upon billions of capital invested in the FMCG vegetable oil market.
Well, cracking. Any questions, please? Down at the front.
Melca no tenía autorización de impacto ambiental.
Melker cleared the forest without an environmental impact assessment,
Para desbosque, no tenía nada dentro.
without an authorization to clear the forest, just like that.
Creo, en cierto modo, si hubiese cumplido el
If he had at
proceso
least
de
done the environmental impact assessment,
hacer
there may
siquiera
have
un
even been a
estudio
legal
impacto
way.
ambiental, podría haber sido el tema. Es bien
For
difícil.
me, it's hard. I remember what it looked like when we visited the site.
Las inspecciones oculares iniciales.
Now, flying over it, I can see it's over, all cleared, without any consideration.
Proceso hecho de desbosque. Sin el
We
más
could have at
mínimo
least
cuidado.
left 30% of the trees,
No tenemos nada, o sea, ni siquiera.
like the
como
law
para decir,
envisages.
bueno, cumpliendo la ley he dejado el 30% de los bosques para que me sirvan de semillero.
But the business doesn't care about the environment.
Se podía haber hecho eso, pero parece que a la empresa no le interesa el medio ambiente.
Do you know this man?
Sí.
Yes,
Jochen.
Jochen.
Who?
Jochen Weise.
Have you seen him together with Melker?
En una
Yes,
oportunidad,
once.
sí. Cuando vinimos
That was when Melker came to Pucallpa to pick more forest areas than he already had.
Para ir a ver las tierras. Era para ir a ver unas otras tierras.
Weise was also
que
there.
ya tenían ubicadas. Y ahí
It was obvious they knew each other.
Pero sí, se conocen entre ellos.
An so einem Gespräch habe ich niemals teilgenommen.
I've never taken part in such a conversation.
Das ist auch nicht meine Aufgabe.
It's not my duty to serve Mr. Melker in any way.
Das war niemals meine Absicht. Wir haben eine ganz klare Auffassung dessen.
We have a
was
very
unsere
clear
Aufgaben sind.
understanding of what our duties are and what the duties of some private investor is.
Dessen, was die Aufgabe irgendwelcher Privatinvestoren ist. Und darüber hinaus.
It's my opinion that private investors should never even set foot in the
dass
rainforests.
die Privatinvestoren auf keinen Fall
At the end of
in
the
die
day,
Regenwälder
Mr. Melker
oder die
didn't
Wälder
venture into
auch
untouched
Wälder
rainforest.
Herr
As
Melker
far
ist
as I
letztlich
know,
nicht, dass
yes.
er in den Regenwald gegangen
But
ist.
he went into the
In den
forests
Regenwald.
which were still the property of the state
Er ist
government.
in die Wälder gegangen, die noch
Correct.
Eigentum
Yes.
waren der
And we and I
Landesregierung.
personally were always totally against that.
Und da waren wir immer und ich persönlich vollkommen dagegen. Ja?
Pucallpa, the region's capital, is adjacent to the Amazon region. The city attracts adventurers and profiteers, gold prospectors, illegal mining proprietors, and lumberjacks. The capital is far away, and so is the hand of justice. Major investor Dennis Melker also turned up one day, accompanied by Jochen Weise. Wiese's right hand, palm oil expert Alfredo Rivera, was also with them. Dennis Melker established his headquarters on the 5th floor of this luxury hotel. In a company video by the Cacao de Peru company, which is also owned by Melker, he has the workers and their families celebrate him.
También Dennis Melker participó de la fiesta y bailó con mucha destreza y alegría.
Alfredo Rivera, the man next to him, is his general manager. Previously, he had been Wiese's project manager for the UN's palm oil plantations. He was already working for Melker when he was still on the UN's payroll.
In a conversation I had with engineer Alfredo Rivera, he told me that Melker had made him the boss of the entire enterprise because his partner had vouched for him. He had told him Alfredo was the right man. He knows the business.
Who is this partner?
His partner is Jochen Weise. In Aguatilla, they invested into a plantation together. They also have a plantation in Tocach, which they co-own. Even if it is registered in another name. Alfredo definitely told me himself that he got the job because his partner had vouched for him with Melker.
Ja, die ersten Sachen, die Alfredo Rivera gemacht hat.
The first things Alfredo did was to demarcate, identify, and negotiate the areas in question with the relevant ministries on a regional level, and so on.
A big help indeed for Mr. Melker.
Of course it was a help.
Aiding the destruction of rainforest to make room for agribusiness on a large scale. That's hardly compatible with the principles of the United Nations, nor with Peru's legislation. We take the Aguatilla, a side arm of the Amazon, to get to the crime scene. Dolores Noriega is forging an alliance against the destruction of the forest. She wants to win over the indigenous tribes of the region in order to stop the global biodiesel industry from advancing. Peru shall not become a second Indonesia. The regional president authorized the sale of the rainforest.
He authorized the sale, yes, but now he's being investigated because it was illegal to grant the permission to clear the forest. 2 penalty notices have been issued to Dennis Melker. Unfortunately, the government has so far abstained from collecting the cash.
Penalty notices for what?
One for the illegal marketing of the wood, and a second one for clearing the forest without authorization. Unfortunately, Peruvian politicians can be bought, in which case they're even prepared to break Peruvian law.
250 people of the Shipibo tribe live in the community of Santa Clara de Oxuña. Their ancestral wood is gone. They were never even asked if they wanted to sell it. Together with other tribes, they are now taking legal action, without much hope for success.
How much did they take away from you?
Between 7 and 10,000 hectares.
How much land is yours altogether?
The problem is that our ancestral land was never registered with the land registry.
Our protest isn't reported in the media anymore at all. The company is too powerful and just keeps going. We need to reassemble to succeed in having Denis Melka expelled from the country.
We had no idea. When the noise of the machine sounded over the river, we ran there and saw it. Previously, we used to go hunting there. We would have the first animal after 15 minutes. Now we walk all day to find a prey animal. Now everything is dead. The plants, the turtles, the anteaters, everything gets flattened.
Can we go there?
No, it's too dangerous. We went there once with the state attorney from Pucallpa and the police. Even then they attacked us with clubs. They'll stop at nothing.
The summer of 2015. A report by Peruvian TV show Panorama. The Shipibo are prevented by Melka's staff from entering their forest.
No one takes our land away from us. Let me go through. Don't touch me.
At this point in time, apart from General Manager Alfredo Rivera, 5 other members of Weise's UN team have joined Denis Melka. They help to free the land of trees, people and animals.
We're reforesting with oil palms. That's a forest too, a secondary forest. We cleared the forest so that 5,000 people could get employment.
And Mr. Weise knew nothing about this?
I was asked to come to the meeting at the hotel. Went there and we discussed the issue. Rivera was there, Melka and Mr. Weise.
What was the subject? What did they want from you?
I was supposed to earmark areas which are suitable for planting oil palms. Additional areas. Because he wanted a total of 100,000 hectares.
La meta era llegar a 50, 100,000, de repente hasta más es que habría 100,000 hectáreas.
Was Mr. Weise for or against selling the forest to Melka?
No ha tenido una
He held back at the meeting.
No ha tenido
most of the time.
Incidencia preponderante.
Mr. Rivera did the talking.
El que más hablaba era el señor Rivera. Pero entre ellos,
Weise only agreed with everything. He said this or that zone is suitable.
Solamente se limitaba a decir, sí, está buena, está buena. Sí, esta zona
that was it.
Buena. Nada.
The Shipibos village will die. Only the 200 hectares on the peninsula are left for the villagers. The hunting ground on the other side of the river already belongs to the investor. The front of the bulldozers, aided by the company's armed security forces, comes closer and closer every day. Denis Melka doesn't just have the forest near Pucallpa cleared. He's also doing it 600 kilometers to the north. Along the Amazon, he's had the forest cleared. The screws are being put on Amazonia from the north and the south. Without the help of Jochen Weise and his UN team, this wouldn't have been possible. The man from Hanover, who long ago set forth to change the world for the better, has eventually become the godfather of Dennis Melker, the destroyer of the rainforest.
We just saw, okay, the man knows what he's doing. We'll take him to the field, end of story. And thank God this good man was open and objective enough. And at the end of the day, he became enthusiastic about these plantations.
Did he have consultancy status with you?
He had a consultancy contract, a short contract for 4 weeks, end of story.
Did he have the idea back then to get into the palm oil business himself?
He probably already had the idea, but it was definitely confirmed massively by the trip he took with us.
We send our questions to the director of the UN Authority for Drugs and Crime in Vienna. How was it possible for UN subsidies to get into the hands of private businessmen? And why did the UN team help an investor to clear the rainforest in Peru? 2 months later, we receive a reply. The UN authority is taking our research very seriously and has referred the case to the UN's Internal Investigation Division. As long as the legal investigation is ongoing, there won't be any official statement.
It's a very beautiful country. I feel at home here. The people are very nice, basically. But there's a lot of, in Germany you would say, mediocrity and a lot of corruption.
It's goodbye, Peru. Jochen Weise is on a new mission on behalf of the UN Organization on Drugs and Crime. They want him to teach farmers in Asia's Myanmar to plant coffee instead of opium poppies.